Hello, YouTube! It's been a while, but we just got back from another anime convention, 2019. This year it was in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, not New Hampshire.
Once again, co-starring the background character that is Dr. Rainstorm.
And AAC 2019 had some problems. Not that we didn't enjoy it, it just had a lot of problems. It may be, in part, because I'm not a big anime fan. Maybe we've just finally reached the age where the whippersnappers and their memes are just too prevalent.
I love how they call it another anime convention, and yet all we're seeing, like, you walk in, you go right into the main area, giant Fortnite llamas.
Yeah, there were two Fortnite pinata things. Like, what?
Now, the thing is, like, I don't hate Fortnite as much as everyone else, but I don't really think Fortnite, it's an anime convention. Fortnite isn't exactly anime.
It was more like a meme convention at this point. And, so we arrived around 12, and for some reason there was an 18 plus panel at 3 o'clock. So of course we went to it.
Why wouldn't we?
It was about harems of harm. It was 18 plus at 3 in the afternoon.
And you know we're degenerates when every time they brought up a new harem, we just look at each other and go, I've seen it. I saw the whole anime.
But we have to point out that the line was a problem. The hotel itself, because this convention just constantly moves to new locations, and this location had many, many problems. And the first that we'll bring up, when we were in line for the panel, further down the hall was, I guess, the autograph room. And so as people were lining up for the autographs, eventually their line started to overtake the doorway into our room, and they started bleeding into the line for harems of harm. So people would constantly, they would ask if this was the line for autographs, and then they would follow it down into the line to get into the 18 plus panel, and then they would go, oh, here's the end of the autographs line. And we would go, no, this is a different line entirely. And they would constantly stand in the doorway of the panel room that we were waiting to get into. And I had to constantly tell people, and I wasn't even a staff member, right? I had to tell people, please don't stand in the doorway of the panel room. And they would just look at me like deer in headlights and go, but I have to stand in line.
Yeah, staff did not do a very good job when it came to organizing the lines. There's one instance we'll get to in a bit, but bad. The staffers were not exact. Either they didn't do their jobs correctly, or there was just not enough of them.
This hotel, it was a lovely hotel. It was very easy to get to, and it had many good things about the hotel. But this hotel was too small for a convention of this size. There were many, many congestion problems, and lines would melt together. There were line problems. There were good aspects of the con, and we had fun in the panel we were able to get into. But harems of harm, 18 plus at 3 p.m. on a Friday,
As you do.
As one does. But that was effectively the only panel we got into Friday night. But maybe that's just our preferences, that there just wasn't many panels that were interesting to us. But surely people were going to those panels. But they just didn't appeal to us. Or the lines were too long that it wasn't even reasonable to get in line.
Yeah, one thing I noticed was that there's, you know how a lot of these panels are just like anime in general. A lot of them are just My Hero Academia related, or just straight up just there it is. My Hero Academia this, My Hero Academia that. I like the anime, but this is going a bit far. There was an entire panel dedicated to a Q&A for Bakugo and only Bakugo.
Remember when they were Homestuck Ask a Troll, but it was like Beta Trolls, ask all the beta characters.
Yeah, it wasn't just one guy.
character.
It wasn't just one character, no matter how likable he is.
Wow.
Though that being said, if there was a Q&A session for Chris Sabat's Vegeta, I'd go.
Yes. So, the video game room was a plus. There were 2 hotels that were just right next to each other, so we were staying in the hotel where the video game room was, next to the hotel where the convention was actually being held. And the video game room was pretty fun. This one spent most of the convention in the video game room.
For the video game room, the main setups that didn't change very often were Smash Ultimate, DBZ Fighters, and Rock Band. The other setups had a Switch with various SNES games on it. I managed to catch a picture of a guy in a full Star Fox fursuit cosplayer playing the SNES Star Fox. They had some Street Fighter games on a 360. They had another anime fighter I couldn't remember the name of, but yeah, the 3 main ones were Ultimate, Fighters, and Rock Band.
Unfortunately, the video game room was small enough, though, that the Rock Band was just overpowering.
Yeah, if you're going to have a small video game room, maybe refrain from Rock Band, because it's kind of hard for everybody else to. Sometimes it's hard for everyone else to enjoy their games when you've got somebody singing very poorly as loud as they can directly behind you.
And I'm going to add on to that. This convention's manga library was in a very inconvenient spot for the people trying to enjoy the manga library. It's hard to visualize because I don't know how to add pictures into my videos, but I was taking pictures as examples of just bad choices. This convention at this hotel, there was a very, very thin, narrow walkway, and basically only one staircase up, and everyone kept saying, oh, just use the elevators. But someone like me who gets very motion sick on elevators, going up and down on the elevators every time I wanted to just wander up and down wasn't an option. So to have only one staircase to get to a major portion of the convention, which then caused a major bottleneck, which also lines to get into certain areas would then cross where you would have to the walkway. They just would barricade the walkway entrance with the line. It was a poor choice because then the line would just become a mess. At one point, I don't know what event it was, but the line was just going down and down and down. And just how the tables were set up, the line and the tables created a very, very narrow walkway. So if you were a large person or in a large costume, it was a very tight squeeze between the line, the solid railing protecting you from the fall to the second floor, and the tables. It was a very tight squeeze. It was very inconvenient. And the manga library was just out in the open. There were no closed walls. It was just on one of the landings on the second floor. And you know how loud conventions get. So if someone was trying to have a little quiet time in the manga library, it was noisy as all hell. And there were people just randomly screaming memes. There were so many random fucking PewDiePie memes.
The other thing that was not helping congestion issues was, those grand ball-esque staircases going to the second floor. Nice enough to look at, but when you've got, 4 different people dressed as princesses on both sides trying to get these sweeping shots of them descending the staircase so nobody can get up without getting in the way of their photo shoot, kind of an issue.
It was very inconvenient. There were many issues with congestion. And if one single person decided to just stop and look at their phone and look at their bag and just stop wherever they just happened to be, they could just congest up the entire goddamn hallway. Related note, on our ride back from the convention on the highway, we have no idea why, but the oncoming lane the other way I don't know, we were eastbound. No, we were westbound, so the eastbound lane just backed up for like 20 fucking miles. It was still backed up when we got off. I have no idea. All those poor people. Kind of related to the convention. Not that we didn't have fun at the convention, but I think when this video goes on long enough, we might have to stop and then just make a separate video just to talk about the line kerfuffle Saturday night.
Before we move on, we know that you're Harley Quinn right now, but why don't you tell us the other cosplays you had prepared?
Yes, I was, of course, the Ice Queen the majority of the weekend, and I was able to get multiple princesses. But, of course, Sunday rolls around, and I was just tired of wearing all that Ice Queen get-up. I just wanted to wear Harley. It was a lot easier. And, of course, when I am no longer the Ice Queen, there was a Princess Bubblegum.
Yeah, as the Ice Queen, you got about 5 or 6 princesses,
but the
including,
best one, of course, Princess Dio.
Yeah, Part 1 Dio Brando is now betrothed to the Ice Queen.
You know, Dio's a princess, and now Dio's my princess. Dio is mine.
Vampire princess.
You know, as it is. So that was some of the fun of the convention, getting all them princesses.
Now, normally I would have just been in my usual attire playing video games, but I did have a costume. I went as Shaggy Rogers from Scooby-Doo.
He makes a good Shaggy.
Why, thank you, man. But my voice is not exactly the greatest.
Who cares? We're all nerds in costumes.
And not only that, but like the costume I got, shirt and pants worked well. The wig, I wasn't exactly feeling up to having a wig, and the little goatee that came with the wig was complete garbage, so I just grew it on my own.
Exactly. You know, he doesn't even need a wig.
My hair's a bit too dark for Shaggy, but it suffices enough.
It was a comfy enough cosplay, though.
No pockets.
No pockets, though. Huh. Is it time to show off our swag, though? Oh, another thing, though. The scheduling. So many problems with the scheduling. They only printed out the schedules the day of. So if you wanted to plan your Saturday on Friday, you had to look up the schedule online. But there were no descriptions anywhere. You had to download a guidebook app, which we didn't want to do.
I mean, it might sound really weird to you guys because it's 2019, but not all people have smartphones.
Not everyone has enough space on their phone for apps. And we were just looking up the schedule on the hotel lobby computer, and my mother wanted to look at panel descriptions, and the website insisted that you had to download the guidebook app in order to view it.
So why not print out a guide? So why not print out the daily guidebook? I might be hearing you ask, maybe because I can read minds when I feel like it. Turns out they only printed out the day, each individual day on that day. So if you wanted to know if there was an early morning panel that you wanted to go to, you had to have hoped to have gotten up early enough to get dressed, leave your hotel room, head over to the con, and pick up a schedule.
It was very poor planning. There were many, many planning mishaps at this convention. For some reason, this convention vastly underestimated how popular certain events would be. But we're not going to start getting into that kerfuffle just yet, because I don't know how long I want these videos to be. Maybe this video is long enough, so I'm going to stop this, and then we'll make another part 2 in a moment.